In the history of Major League Baseball, there have been 5 players ever to hit at least 25 extra base hits, have at least 105 total bases, and bat at least 400, all in a single calendar month. 4 of those 5 are Hall of Famers: Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Chuck Klein, and Tris Speaker, some of the greatest hitters of all time. The 5th and final player to have an equally epic offensive month? Randy Winn. Who is Randy Winn, and what exactly did he do that only a handful of hitting legends throughout history have been able to accomplish? Randy Winn was an outfielder who played in Major League Baseball for 13 seasons from 1998 to 2010. He played for 5 teams, but spent the most time with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, Seattle Mariners, and San Francisco Giants. In his career, he played in over 1,700 games and came to the plate nearly 6,900 times. He slashed .284 with a .343 on base and .416 slugging for a .759 OPS and .99 adjusted OPS. He has over 1,750 hits, over 500 extra base hits, over 850 runs, over 650 RBIs, over 2,500 total bases, over 200 stolen bases, and earned 27.5 WAR. In addition, he's also a one-time All-Star, as he represented the Devil Rays in the 2002 Midsummer Classic. Based on his stats, Winn had a long but average or so career. He was a good contact hitter who stole a decent amount of bases, but his low slugging and good but not great on-base percentage contribute to his near league average adjusted OPS. Don't get me wrong, Winn had a number of fine seasons and was a reliable piece in the lineup, but he was no slugger, only once hitting at least 15 home runs in a season or having at least 300 total bases. Despite that, Winn managed to have one of the greatest and most improbable offensive months of all time. And before I continue, I need to mention that Baseball Reference considers both September and October to be one month. Winn's historic feat includes 28 games in September and 2 games in October, but is still considered a single month. In 2005, as a member of the Seattle Mariners, the club dealt Winn to the San Francisco Giants at the trade deadline. At the time of the trade, Winn had an adjusted OPS of exactly 100 and over 430 plate appearances. In 7 seasons entering 2005, Winn had over 3,400 plate appearances with an adjusted OPS of 99. This includes a mark of 105 in his previous 2 seasons combined. He posted average offensive stats at the time of the trade, the previous 2 seasons, and across his time in the big leagues. For that reason, it should surprise nobody if Winn continues this trend of hitting at an average pace. Slotted as the everyday center fielder for San Francisco, that's exactly what was happening. Across the entire month of August, Winn hit at an OPS of 773, which was only slightly higher than his mark of 733 at the time he was traded. However, for the final month of the 2005 season, it's as if Randy Winn turned into the reincarnation of Babe Ruth. Over the next 30 games from September 2nd to October 2nd, Winn came to the plate exactly 133 times. He slashed .439 with a .469 on base and .862 slugging for a 1.331 OPS. He had 27 extra base hits, scored 25 runs, drove in 18 RBIs, and had 106 total bases. I want to repeat some of those statistics because they sound vaguely important. Randy Winn, over a 30-game period in the month of September and October, averaged nearly an extra base hit per game while also averaging over 3.5 total bases per game as well. If that sounds like a lot, that's because it is. For context, in 550 plate appearances entering September, Winn only hit 9 home runs, beating that mark in a fraction of the playing time. Not only that, but entering 2005, Winn's career best in home runs was 14, and he nearly matched that amount in a single month. His final month of the year was so epic, he finished the season with a career-high 20 home runs, career best 308 total bases, and personal best in OPS, adjusted OPS, hits, extra base hits, you name it. To give a perspective of how incredible Randy Winn was for the final month of the 2005 season, let's compare it to other notable months all time. In the modern era of Major League Baseball, Winn is one of 11 players to ever have at least 27 extra base hits in a single month. 8 of those 11 are Hall of Famers, where the other 3 are Albert Bell, Richard Hidalgo, and Randy Winn. Bell being one of the greatest sluggers of all time, while Hidalgo was in the midst of one of the best offensive seasons in Astros history. Unlike the other 10, Randy Winn's occurrence absolutely came out of nowhere. Looking at his total bases, only 6 others have ever matched that amount of 106. As you can imagine, those 6 players include 5 Hall of Famers and 1 player who could have been one as well, but suffered a career-ending injury. It's also important to note that Winn achieved those amounts in less playing time than others next to him on the leaderboard. If we looked at players with as many or fewer plate appearances than Winn in a single month, he's not only one of 5 ever with at least 27 extra base hits, he has the most total bases, period. Nobody has ever had as many total bases in that low playing time in a month than Randy Winn. To look at Winn's OPS, among all players with as many or more plate appearances in a month, his 1.331 OPS is the 24th highest ever, where only 14 other players had a higher mark. Of those 14, all but 2 are not in the Hall of Fame, where those 2 are Sammy Sosa and Cody Bellinger, aka one of the greatest sluggers of all time and an MVP. Somehow, light-hitting Randy Winn put together a month of elite hitting that very few have ever been able to produce. Naturally, Winn would never have stats like that following the 2005 season. In over 2,700 plate appearances from 2006 to 2010, Winn had a combined adjusted OPS of 92, where his best single season mark was 105. There has never been a hitter with those kinds of career stats to have such a historic month than Randy Winn did in 2005. Someone who was an average hitter, he was able to have one of the greatest offensive spans of all time. There will perhaps never be another player like Winn to have a month that incredible ever again.